Right, turn the car off. Going to be a different video today. I'm going to be addressing something which I think a few of you might need to know. And don't worry, it still involves the M235i and the N55 engine. And we are going to need these pieces of paper from the back, which in the wind have blown down here. Now, hopefully that's not going to blow away and we can talk about the rest of the video. Now, if you've been following the channel, you will know a couple of days ago I put my car, this M235i, on the dyno. Here's a clip of it on screen. And I was really impressed with the horsepower it made. If we have a look at the little graph here, I'll be able to show you guys in full. Now, it's all tuned by myself with MHD, and I've done all the bolt-ons and fitted everything myself, basically. As you can see here, though, the car made 432.8 horsepower at the flywheel, and this is the key part. I'm only making this video just to basically get more information and to help some people become aware, basically, of some things. And yes, I know the car is extremely loud. However, this is the key thing I'm coming to you guys for advice for and just wondering. We've seen enough of that printout now. Now we can talk a little bit more outside the car because it's boiling today and it's so hot in that car. Now, I had somebody the other day, and we're not going to name any names, and this is not a insult video, this is not a dig at anybody, this is just to help everybody become aware of this question I have regarding flywheel and wheel horsepower. Now, whenever I talk to my mates about cars, so say my mate Jay's got an M4 and he tells me, okay, the horsepower of that is around 420, it's the non-comp version, I would guess flywheel horsepower. If I go to a car meet and I'm asking somebody about their build, in the UK at least, and they say, okay, this is 360 horsepower, in my head, I determine flywheel horsepower. Now, this is not a dig at anybody. I'm going to put another clip on screen now of the car. This is during the winter time. Air intake temperatures are obviously a lot colder, and this was before I had confirmed exactly what horsepower it made. Now, this is the key point. Do you think this car in the clip made 360 between 375-ish wheel horsepower, or do you think it made 432 flywheel horsepower? Now, if I'm at a car meet and somebody asks me, what horsepower is your car making? Obviously, they know it's tuned. They know I've done a lot of stuff to it. I will then officially tell them now, around 430, because I have the dyno printout. I would have said before, it's MHD stage 2 tuned, so obviously MHD quote around 420 horsepower, but that's not 100% certain. I wouldn't have given them a figure until I actually know, which I do now with a printout. Now, on the day, I asked the guy who was basically doing the dyno runs for me. There were two guys. There was the guy who was actually in the car, revving it up on the dyno, and the guy who strapped it down, for example. And there was another guy who was actually kind of sat in the office building. They had headsets on so they could talk to each other, because obviously you've seen how loud this car is. It's stupidly loud. They were talking to each other. And I asked the main guy, who was looking at all the data on all the sheets and the graphs and everything like that, I asked him, what wheel horsepower is this making? Now, obviously, we know most BMWs, or at least most performance BMWs, are rear-wheel drive. Obviously, we've progressed into more X-Drive versions with the likes of the G80 chassis. However, this 218i, if you guys get the joke, is rear-wheel drive. And I wanted to find out what power it is putting down to these rear wheels. Sneak peek to the new tyres, too. Now, obviously, he worked it out, and it's a rough guess, and I've also Googled it online with like an online calculator. How accurate that is, I don't know. However, the rear wheel horsepower can vary on this. Obviously, you lose horsepower when you're going through the transmission, drive shafts, the diffs, everything like that. This is making between 365 to 378 rear wheel horsepower, apparently. That's what the figures I've been quoted are. And that's a really, really reasonable number. I'm actually really happy with that. However, we know that the car made 432.8, if we're going to be splitting hairs here, at the flywheel. And in the UK, that is what most people, if I tell them the horsepower, will be guessing. And like I said, not to repeat myself, this is not a dig at anybody. However, I just wanted to clear a few things up regarding flywheel horsepower and wheel horsepower. So my question is, I know in America, a lot of you viewers will view it as rear wheel horsepower, or the wheel horsepower that the car puts down on the ground, whether it's four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or rear-wheel drive. However, I do feel more internationally, and BMW themselves, if you are buying this car, they label it as 326 horsepower from the factory. That's what this car comes with out of the box. So are they labeling rear-wheel horsepower or flywheel? Well, they're labeling flywheel, and that is obviously what I've made the videos to be. And regarding making content on the channel, if I was to list this as Stage 2 Plus dyno run made 368 horsepower, for example, which isn't a lie because technically it did. It did make that to the rear wheels. But what's going to get more viewers to watch the video? 432 horsepower, a number which they're expecting to see with a Stage 2 Plus and 99 octane fuel, or are they going to be expecting 368 horsepower at the rear wheels? They'll be a little bit confused because if you're running a Stage 1 MHD tune, for example, that would make around 360 odd horsepower. But then again, we're talking at the Flywheel. In the recap of this video, basically just asking you guys in the comments, what do you view your car as? I know some crazy builds out there. I mean, we've got M140s in the UK making 1200 horsepower, but again, they're calculating that at the Flywheel, so obviously then it's going to be, what, less than 1,000 horsepower at the rear wheels? So that's why I'm turning to all of you lot now in the comment section to actually let me know. If you were talking at a car meet with some guys who have built their cars and they've tuned them and they've done loads of stuff to them, and you're talking power figures, do you guys have the convo about Flywheel horsepower or rear wheel horsepower? Because I know in the UK, if I go to any car meet or if I speak to any of my mates and we're talking horsepower, we're talking Flywheel. And the guy on Messenger I actually had a chat with, he knows his stuff, don't get me wrong. He's older than me, he's mature, well, I guess you could say mature, but he has a lot more knowledge on life than me, and I'm not digging at anybody at all. I totally appreciate advice when it's given. However, my point was regarding the actual videos that I make, and when I talk to people about horsepower, I quote the Flywheel because that is the kind of numbers you would expect when you see a Stage 2 or a Stage 2 Plus MHD tuned N55. Anyway, enough of that rant. It was just a basic informational point I wanted to get to you guys and ask for your opinions. Now let's look at the new rear wheels we have on this car. We've stayed with the same JR11s, the Japan Racing. However, as you can see, we've got some brand new balancing weights just down there, and that is because we opted for the 651 Sports on the rear as well. If you know, it's about a month ago now, we took this car to Germany and we had the 651 Accelera Sports on the front, and they did really well, but that's because the fronts needed changing. However, I was underneath the car the other day and I saw on the inside edge, I was lano guarding it to actually protect the subframe and stuff like that, and while I was underneath, I noticed there was a slight bulge and a slit on the inside wall. And obviously, when you're driving a car like this, you want to make sure that your tyres are the most important thing, because they're the only thing keeping you to the ground. And if you have a blowout at any sort of speed, if it's above 100 mile an hour, you're not really getting it back, let alone a blowout at any speed on the motorway anyway, and you could cause damage to other people. So it's extremely important to check your tyres. That's why I opted, it's a good time to change. And it was really annoying because this was the side which has the bulge on the inside, which is changed now. However, the passenger rear wheel had loads of meat on it and the tyre was absolutely perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. However, I couldn't run 3 Acceleras all round and then have one Falcon looking completely odd. It wouldn't work. It would make the car drive weird and it just would be a complete disaster. I actually had somebody comment regarding running the 651 Sports on the front and then the Falcon FK520s on the back for the ring. He said the compression would be different. And again, somebody who's given me advice, somebody older, maturer, who's done more stuff with tyres than me, gave me the advice. And yes, he is completely right. However, the speed and the kind of fastness I was going on the Nürburgring wasn't really justifiable to actually have the issues with the tyres that he was on about. However, now we've got a matching 4 set. It just looks so much better on the car. Really happy with how this thing is turning out. And there we go. I think I'm going to wrap up today's video now. If you have any comments down below, be sure to leave them and I'll of course respond and answer them. Really interested to see what you guys in other countries as well, America, Canada. I know a lot of you viewers are from the US, so very curious to what you view your car horsepower wise. Let me know in the comments. And if you did enjoy the video and you want to see a load more content on this M235i, which is 432 horsepower now, then you can subscribe. You can give the video a like if you want to. It's all free and it really helps me out. Apart from that, I'm going to get back in the car, head home, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.